Picture a river, a winding, shimmering ribbon of water cutting through the heart of a vast landscape. It's not just any river, but one so essential, so life-giving, that it became the cradle of an entire civilization. For hundreds of years, this waterway nourished fields, powered trade, and supported a thriving society. But then, in a twist of fate, as dramatic as it was devastating, the river disappeared. And with it, the civilization it had built crumbled into ruins, swallowed by time and forgotten by history. This is the story of how a single forgotten river created, and then destroyed, an entire medieval empire. It's a tale of human ingenuity and vulnerability, of how nature can both sustain and strip away the foundations of prosperity. Today, we'll uncover the rise and fall of this lost society, piecing together archaeological clues and historical mysteries. Why does this story matter now, centuries later? Because it's a stark reminder of how fragile our connection to the natural world truly is. Water, the very essence of life, can also be the harbinger of doom when it shifts course. So join us as we journey back in time to explore this forgotten chapter of history, where a river was both the beginning and the end of a civilization. Together, we'll discover how the fate of an entire empire was tied to the ebb and flow of a single waterway, and what we can learn from its legacy. Let's begin this fascinating exploration into the past, where the power of nature and the ambitions of humanity collide in a story as timeless as it is tragic. Long before humans settled its banks, the forgotten river was born from the marriage of geological forces and climatic rhythms. Imagine towering mountain ranges, their peaks capped with ancient glaciers, slowly melting under the sun's warmth. These icy giants fed the river's earliest streams, sending cold, clear water cascading down rocky slopes into the valleys below. Seasonal rains added to this lifeblood, swelling its flow during wetter months and shrinking it during drier times. Year after year, century after century, the river carved its path through the land, shaping fertile valleys and depositing rich soils perfect for agriculture. Early settlers, drawn to this abundance, saw the river as a gift from the gods, a source of water for their crops, a highway for trade, and a symbol of power. But this river was different from others in the region. While many waterways followed predictable patterns, this one had a temperamental streak. Its flow could shift dramatically, from a gentle trickle to a raging torrent, leaving communities vulnerable to both drought and flood. This unpredictability, while manageable at first, would later prove to be its downfall. The river, so generous in its gifts, carried within it the seeds of destruction, a reminder that even nature's most benevolent forces can turn against those who depend on them. The river's life-giving waters transformed the scattered villages along its banks into a thriving network of cities. Irrigation canals, meticulously engineered by the early settlers, turned once arid lands into fertile fields bursting with crops. Wheat, barley, and vegetables flourished, feeding a growing population and creating a surplus that fueled trade. Merchants from distant lands soon arrived, drawn by tales of abundance, bringing with them exotic goods, new ideas, and cultural influences that enriched the civilization. Artisans and craftsmen emerged, their skills honed to create intricate pottery, finely woven textiles, and tools that showcased their ingenuity. The people who built this society were not just farmers, they were visionaries. They mastered the art of hydraulics, constructing dams and aqueducts that ensured a steady water supply even during dry seasons. Their cities were marvels of planning, with wide streets, bustling marketplaces, and grand temples that reached toward the heavens. Evidence of their innovations can still be seen in the ruins that dot the landscape, stone carvings depicting their achievements, remnants of advanced irrigation systems, and the foundations of towering structures that once stood as symbols of their prosperity. This was a golden age, a time when the river's gifts seemed limitless and the civilization reached heights of wealth and cultural sophistication. But even as they thrived, there were whispers of danger. The river, so vital to their survival, was also unpredictable. Its floods could destroy crops, its droughts could starve entire communities, and its shifting course could render once fertile lands barren. The people knew they were living on borrowed time, yet they continued to build, to innovate, to dream. Little did they realize that the very river that had given them life would one day take it all away. The river became more than a source of water. It became the lifeblood of commerce, a bustling highway that connected the civilization to the wider world. Along its banks, boats laden with spices, textiles, and metals traveled back and forth, weaving a tapestry of trade that brought wealth and cultural exchange. From the east came silk and precious stones, from the west, bronze tools and intricately crafted pottery. The markets of the river cities buzzed with activity as merchants haggled over prices and artisans displayed their finest wares. The elite reveled in their newfound wealth, building opulent homes and commissioning lavish works of art to showcase their status. But this prosperity came at a cost. The civilization's reliance on trade made it fragile, its fortunes tied to the ebb and flow of the river's waters. A single bad season, a flood that destroyed crops or a drought that lowered water levels, could disrupt the entire network. Ships might be unable to navigate the river, goods could spoil before reaching their destinations, and merchants would lose their livelihoods. The once thriving markets could fall silent overnight. This vulnerability exposed a harsh truth. The civilization's golden age was built on a foundation as unstable as the river's currents. The very force that had brought them wealth and connection could also bring their downfall. As the years passed, signs of strain began to show. Trade routes shifted, droughts grew more frequent, and the river's flow became less predictable. The society that had once seemed invincible now faced an uncertain future, its prosperity hanging by a thread. The first warnings came quietly, almost unnoticed. Droughts began to stretch longer than usual, leaving the riverbed cracked and dry under the relentless sun. Then, without warning, violent floods would sweep through the land, tearing apart canals and eroding the fertile soil. The river, once a reliable partner, had become unpredictable. The silt that had once enriched the fields now clogged waterways, slowing trade and suffocating crops. At first, the people responded with ingenuity and determination. Engineers constructed additional canals to divert water to parched fields, while laborers dredged the riverbed to remove the choking silt. Temples saw a surge in offerings as the devout prayed to the river deities, begging for their favor. But these efforts could only delay the inevitable. Archaeologists have uncovered evidence of this desperate struggle: crudely repaired levees, hastily abandoned settlements on the river's edge, and layers of silt buried beneath once thriving cities. These were the first cracks in the empire's foundation, signs that the civilization was losing its battle against nature. Yet, despite the mounting evidence, the people clung to the hope that the river would return to its former glory. Ignoring nature's warnings is a mistake repeated throughout history, a pattern of human hubris that often precedes collapse. The civilization's leaders, blinded by their past successes, failed to adapt to the new reality. They continued to invest in costly projects to control the river, unaware that they were fighting a losing battle. The river, once their greatest ally, had become their greatest adversary, and its decline would set the stage for the empire's eventual fall. The civilization's leaders, faced with the river's growing unpredictability, turned to engineering on an unprecedented scale. Massive dams rose along the riverbanks, their stone blocks carefully fitted together by thousands of laborers. Canals were widened and extended, crisscrossing the landscape in an intricate network designed to bring water to even the driest regions. These projects were feats of human ingenuity, monuments to the civilization's determination to bend nature to its will. But beneath the surface, cracks began to appear. The dams, while effective in the short term, disrupted the river's natural flow, leading to unforeseen consequences downstream. Sediment that once nourished the floodplains now piled up behind the dams, starving the land of its fertility. The canals, for all their complexity, required constant maintenance, demanding an ever-growing workforce. Historical records suggest that as resources became scarcer, the civilization turned to forced labor, conscripting farmers and craftsmen to work on these projects, leaving fields untended and workshops empty. Tensions flared as neighboring regions competed for dwindling water supplies, escalating into conflicts that drained the empire's strength. The river, once a unifying force, became a source of division. While the engineering marvels of this civilization are still celebrated today, they also serve as a cautionary tale. Their efforts to control the river delayed its decline, but at a cost that ultimately weakened the very fabric of their society. The greatest monuments they left behind may not have been the dams or canals, but the lessons etched into their ruins, a reminder that even the most advanced civilizations are bound by the limits of nature. While the river was the lifeblood of this civilization, its fate was intertwined with forces far beyond their control. Scientists studying tree rings and sediment layers have uncovered evidence of prolonged droughts during the civilization's decline. These droughts coincided with broader climatic shifts, such as the medieval warm period, a time when global temperatures rose significantly. For a society already struggling to manage its water resources, these changes proved catastrophic. The river, once a reliable source of sustenance, began to falter. Its flow diminished, its waters grew erratic, and the land it once nourished turned arid. Imagine the desperation of farmers watching their fields wither, or the engineers tasked with keeping the canals full, only to find them dry. The civilization's leaders, adept at managing the river's local challenges, were powerless against these global patterns. They lacked the knowledge to understand the broader climatic forces at play, let alone the technology to counteract them. This wasn't an isolated event. Similar droughts and shifts affected civilizations across the globe. But for this society, already strained by overextension and internal conflict, it was the final blow. The collapse serves as a stark reminder that climate change isn't a modern phenomenon, it's an ancient one. History shows us repeatedly that civilizations rise and fall with the rhythms of their environment. The fate of this forgotten river and the civilization it once sustained is a powerful testament to the delicate balance between human ambition and the natural world. It's a story that resonates deeply today as we face our own challenges with a changing climate. The past teaches us that ignoring the signs of environmental stress comes at a steep cost. And in the echoes of this ancient collapse, we find a cautionary tale for our own time. As the river's flow diminished, the political fabric of the civilization began to unravel. Water, once a shared resource, became scarce, and scarcity breeds conflict. Rival factions likely turned on one another, each blaming the other for the river's decline. Kings, desperate to maintain control, might have invoked divine favor, claiming their leadership was blessed by the gods. But no amount of divine rhetoric could fill the canals or quench the thirst of a starving population. Power struggles erupted, weakening the civilization from within. leaders who once united their people around the common goal of managing the river now found themselves embroiled in internal strife. This wasn't just a struggle for resources, it was a battle for survival, and when survival is at stake, alliances crumble and trust evaporates. The civilization's ability to adapt to the changing environment was further hindered by these political fractures. Water scarcity has always been a catalyst for conflict, and history is littered with examples of societies torn apart by the fight for control over vital resources. Today, we see similar struggles in regions grappling with droughts and dwindling water supplies. The past whispers warnings to the present, reminding us that the management of natural resources isn't just an environmental issue, it's a matter of peace and stability. The story of this forgotten civilization underscores the delicate balance between leadership, resources, and survival, a lesson that resonates deeply in our modern world. The once bustling cities of this civilization now stood as haunting relics of their former glory. Streets that had echoed with the clamor of merchants and the laughter of children fell eerily silent. Temples, once grand centers of worship, crumbled under the weight of neglect, their sacred altars now buried beneath layers of dust and debris. Along the riverbanks, docks that had welcomed traders from distant lands rotted away, their wooden beams sagging into the mud. The artifacts left behind tell a story of urgency and despair. Broken pottery, its intricate designs half-finished, lies scattered across abandoned workshops. Unfinished carvings, their chisel marks frozen in time, suggest that artisans dropped their tools mid-task. In some places, hastily buried treasures, jewelry, coins, and ceremonial objects speak of a population desperate to hide their valuables from an uncertain future. Where did the people go? Some likely fled in search of greener lands, following the faint promise of water and fertile soil. Others, perhaps too weary or too hopeful to leave, remained behind, clinging to the fading memory of prosperity until the very end. These ruins are more than just physical remnants. They are echoes of choices made and unmade, a testament to the fragility of even the most enduring civilizations. The river's final act was as unpredictable as it was devastating. For centuries, it had flowed steadily, carving its path through the land, nurturing fields and sustaining cities. But nature is indifferent to human ambition. In its last betrayal, the river did not vanish in silence, it roared. A sudden, catastrophic flood surged through its banks, tearing through the landscape with relentless force. Entire sections of the riverbed were reshaped, its course diverted away from the civilization that had depended on it for survival. The once reliable waters now flowed elsewhere, leaving behind a barren wasteland. Without the river, crops withered under the relentless sun, their roots starved of moisture. Fields that had once yielded abundant harvests turned to dust, carried away by relentless winds. The people watched helplessly as their lifeline became their ruin. The river, once a source of life and prosperity, had become a symbol of their downfall. This was not a slow decay, but a swift, merciless severance. The civilization that had flourished along its banks now faced an unthinkable reality. The river owed no loyalty to kings, no allegiance to empires. It was a reminder that nature's patience is finite and its mercy fleeting. In the end, the river's betrayal was not just a loss of water, it was the unraveling of an entire way of life. Centuries after its collapse, the story of this forgotten civilization began to resurface, not through written records, but through the ground itself. Modern technology played a crucial role in this rediscovery. Satellite imagery, with its ability to see beyond the surface, revealed the faint outlines of ancient structures buried beneath layers of soil and time. What looked like ordinary fields to the naked eye were, in fact, the remains of sprawling cities, their streets and walls etched invisibly into the earth. Then a severe drought struck the region, lowering water levels and exposing what had long been hidden. Along the dry riverbed, relics of the past emerged: broken pottery, rusted tools, and fragments of walls that once stood tall. Archaeologists arrived, their shovels and brushes carefully uncovering the secrets of this lost world. Bones told stories of health and hardship, revealing diseases and diets. Tools spoke of craftsmanship and innovation, while preserved seeds hinted at the crops that once fed a thriving population. Each discovery painted a clearer picture of daily life, from bustling markets to quiet homes. But they also revealed signs of the civilization's final days: abandoned dwellings, hastily buried valuables, and evidence of a struggling population. The land itself became a silent witness, its layers preserving memories long erased from human history. These findings remind us that the Earth holds stories far older than any book, waiting patiently for someone to listen. The story of this forgotten civilization serves as a stark reminder of humanity's delicate relationship with water. Today, our megacities face similar challenges, though on an even grander scale. Rivers that once seemed limitless are now under immense pressure from overuse, pollution, and the unpredictable effects of climate change. In places like the Colorado River in the United States or the Ganges in India, water levels are dropping and ecosystems are collapsing under the weight of human demand. The ancient river that sustained and then doomed our forgotten civilization is not so different from the rivers we rely on today. Overuse of water resources, just as in the past, can lead to devastating consequences. But pollution adds a modern twist, turning vital waterways into toxic channels that harm both people and wildlife. Climate change amplifies these risks, bringing droughts and floods that strain already fragile systems. The parallels are impossible to ignore. Like the ancient civilization, we've built our societies around the assumption that water will always be there. But history shows us how quickly that assumption can fail. The question is not whether we face similar threats, but whether we will learn from the past. Will we invest in sustainable practices, manage our resources wisely, and protect the rivers that sustain us? Or will we repeat the mistakes of history, watching as our cities and societies falter under the weight of neglect? The past isn't just a story, it's a warning. It's up to us to decide if we'll listen. The river's name, once spoken with reverence, now lies buried under layers of time and conquest. Historians speculate that as empires rose and fell, conquerors either erased its name intentionally or it simply faded as newer cultures imposed their own narratives. Names carry immense power. They anchor identity, preserve memory, and connect generations. To lose a name is to sever a thread in the tapestry of history. This river, which once nourished an entire civilization, became nameless, its contributions overshadowed by the rise of new powers and the passage of centuries. Rivers, however, are indifferent to human ambition. They flow silently, carving their paths through the land, untouched by the fleeting nature of fame. While civilizations celebrate their achievements and etch their names into stone, rivers endure without fanfare. This river's anonymity serves as a poignant reminder of how easily even the most vital parts of our history can slip into obscurity. Yet its waters still ran, indifferent to whether anyone remembered its name or not. In its silence lies a lesson. The natural world outlasts human endeavors, and the stories we think are lost may still ripple beneath the surface, waiting to be rediscovered. Myths and legends have a way of preserving what history often forgets. Along the banks of what was once a thriving river, whispers of the past linger in the form of stories told by generations. Local folktales often speak of a lost golden land, a paradise where the river's waters brought prosperity and unity. Some accounts describe a time when the river's currents were said to sing, their melodies guiding the people to harmony and abundance. Yet, woven into these tales of prosperity is often a shadow, a curse of the waters that some believe brought the civilization to its knees. These stories vary from village to village, but a common thread ties them together. The river was both life-giver and destroyer. In one legend, the river is said to have turned against its people after they grew arrogant and neglected its gifts. In another, a divine figure curses the waters after a great betrayal, causing them to dry up or flood without warning. Oral traditions passed down through songs and rituals may hold fragments of truth about this forgotten river. They serve as a bridge between the tangible and the intangible, offering glimpses into how the people of this civilization understood their relationship with the natural world. While these myths might not provide exact historical details, they reveal something equally profound. The river's legacy lives on in the collective memory of those who came after. These stories remind us that even when a river's name is lost, its impact continues to ripple through time, carried forward by the voices of those who remember. The story of this forgotten civilization is not unique in the grand tapestry of human history. In fact, its rise and fall echo patterns seen in other ancient societies, like the Maya of Central America or the Mesopotamians of the Fertile Crescent. Take the Maya, for example, a civilization that thrived in lush jungles but faced collapse due to a combination of overpopulation, prolonged droughts, and the strain placed on their agricultural systems. Similarly, Mesopotamia, often called the cradle of civilization, saw its cities decline as the Tigris and Euphrates rivers became unpredictable, leading to salinization of the soil and food shortages. What these civilizations share is a dependence on their environment and a vulnerability to its changes. When natural resources were abundant, they flourished. When those resources were mismanaged or diminished, their societies faltered. Overpopulation often amplified these challenges as growing demands outstripped the land's capacity to sustain them. And in many cases, rigid political or social systems made it difficult to adapt swiftly to these mounting pressures. Collapse is rarely the result of a single event, but rather a cascade of interconnected failures, environmental, economic, and societal. The ruins of these civilizations serve as silent classrooms, offering lessons about resilience, sustainability, and the delicate balance between humans and nature. By studying these shared patterns, we gain not just a deeper understanding of the past, but also insights that resonate in our world today. The role of religion in the decline of this civilization cannot be overstated. For centuries, priests had interpreted the river's bounty as a sign of divine favor, its waters a sacred gift from the gods. But when the river began to shrink and the once fertile lands turned barren, the priests faced a crisis of interpretation. Did the dwindling waters signal divine displeasure? Were the gods punishing the people for some unseen sin? In their desperation, the rulers and priests may have doubled down on rituals and sacrifices, hoping to appease the gods and restore the river's flow. Archaeological evidence from similar societies suggests that such crises often led to an increase in religious fervor, with grander temples, more elaborate ceremonies, and even human sacrifices. Yet, while faith can provide comfort and a sense of control in uncertain times, it cannot irrigate fields or refill a drying river. When the gods fell silent and the river continued its decline, the people were left to grapple with the harsh realities of their material world. This tension between the spiritual and the practical may have deepened societal divisions, as some turned to new ideologies or blamed their leaders, while others clung even more tightly to their fading beliefs. Religion, once the bedrock of their civilization, became a source of both hope and conflict in its twilight years. The story of these priests and their people reminds us of the complex ways in which faith and environment intertwine, shaping societies in both their rise and their fall. Survivors of this once thriving civilization faced a stark choice: stay and endure the harsh realities of a changing landscape, or leave in search of new opportunities. Many chose the latter, embarking on arduous journeys that took them to distant lands. Some migrated west, where they encountered burgeoning city-states eager for skilled laborers and artisans. Others headed south, blending into agricultural communities that welcomed their knowledge of irrigation and crop management. Along the way, these displaced peoples carried with them more than just their belongings. They brought their language, traditions, and stories of the river that had once sustained them. These cultural elements didn't disappear. Instead, they evolved, adapting to new environments and blending with local customs. Over time, the descendants of these migrants became integral parts of the societies they joined, yet traces of their origins lingered. Artifacts and oral histories reveal how they preserved certain rituals, practiced distinctive crafts, and passed down tales of their ancestral home. The river, though no longer a physical presence in their lives, remained a powerful symbol in their collective memory. Its legacy, woven into the fabric of new cultures, serves as a testament to the resilience of human identity. Even today, we might find echoes of this lost civilization in the traditions, languages, and art of distant peoples, proof that while rivers may dry up, the stories of those who lived by them flow on. Modern hydrologists and geologists have unlocked remarkable tools to explore the river's past with unprecedented accuracy. By analyzing sediment cores extracted from the riverbed, they can read layers of earth like pages in a book. Each stratum tells a story: shifts in climate, periods of drought, and even the rise and fall of human activity. Isotopic data adds another layer of insight, revealing changes in water sources and flow patterns over centuries. These scientific methods allow us to reconstruct the river's life cycle, from its earliest days as a life-giving force to its eventual decline. Advanced technology, such as ground-penetrating radar and satellite imagery, further enhances our understanding, mapping ancient channels and uncovering evidence of long-lost settlements. This meticulous work transforms mud and stone into a vivid narrative, piecing together how the river shaped and was shaped by the civilization it sustained. Through these discoveries, we gain not only a deeper appreciation for the river's role, but also valuable lessons about the delicate balance between humans and their environment. These insights remind us that the past, though buried, is never truly lost. It's waiting to be uncovered, layer by layer. Among the artifacts uncovered from the river's forgotten banks, a small clay doll stands out as a silent witness to a time long past. Unearthed from the remnants of a modest home, this simple figurine, no larger than a child's hand, carries with it the echoes of everyday life. Its surface, smoothed by the touch of tiny fingers, tells a story of a child's world, play, laughter, and the innocence of youth. Yet, the doll's cracked edges and the worn lines of its design hint at the struggles of a community constantly adapting to the whims of the river. Nearby, a clay tablet etched with symbols reveals another layer of this civilization story. The markings, likely a merchant's record of grain or pottery, speak of trade, economy, and the practical concerns of survival. Together, these objects form a mosaic of human experience, the joys of childhood, the anxieties of adulthood, and the unyielding drive to thrive against the odds. Each artifact is a diary in the dirt, a tangible connection to lives lived centuries ago. They remind us that history is not just about grand events or monumental achievements, but also about the quiet, enduring moments that define what it means to be human. Through these fragments, we glimpse the hopes, fears, and dreams of people who once called this river home. Their legacy, preserved in clay and rust, continues to speak to us across the ages, offering lessons in resilience, community, and the shared humanity that binds us all. The fate of this river-bound civilization remains shrouded in mystery, a tantalizing puzzle with pieces scattered across time. Archaeologists and historians alike have debated whether its end came suddenly or gradually. Was there a final exodus, families carrying what little they could as the river's lifeblood dried up? Or did conflict and upheaval bring a violent close to this once thriving community? The evidence offers only fragments. Charred remains of structures hint at possible warfare, while layers of sediment suggest environmental shifts that may have forced people to abandon their homes. Yet, these clues are open to interpretation, leaving room for speculation and imagination. Some believe the river's decline was the catalyst, its waters receding until the land could no longer sustain life. Others point to signs of upheaval, broken tools, hastily buried valuables as evidence of invasion or internal strife. What becomes clear is that history is often a narrative written in gaps and silences, a story where some chapters are forever lost. The absence of a definitive answer only deepens the intrigue, inviting us to ponder the resilience and fragility of human civilizations. While we may never fully solve this ancient mystery, the questions it raises remind us of our own vulnerability to the forces of nature and the passage of time. In the end, the story of this forgotten river and the people who depended on it is not just about their rise and fall, it's about the enduring legacy of human ingenuity and the timeless quest for survival. The question of whether this civilization's fate was inevitable or avoidable stirs a profound debate about the relationship between humanity and the environment. Some argue that the river's decline was an unavoidable natural event, a shift in the Earth's systems beyond human control. Others suggest that overuse of resources, cutting down forests, diverting water for irrigation, and overfishing accelerated the river's demise and sealed their own fate. Could they have foreseen the consequences of their actions? Perhaps, but survival often demands short-term solutions, even when they carry long-term risks. Sustainability, after all, is not a modern invention but a timeless principle born of necessity. Ancient societies across the globe, from the Mayans to the Mesopotamians, faced similar challenges, balancing immediate needs with the stewardship of their environment. This civilization story raises a haunting question. Did they recognize the signs of their own decline, or were they too entangled in the struggle of daily life to see the bigger picture? The river, once their lifeline, became a silent judge, its dwindling waters reflecting both their ingenuity and their limitations. Today, as we grapple with our own environmental challenges, their story serves as a poignant reminder. The choices we make, how we manage resources, how we respond to warning signs echo through generations. The river's fate is a mirror, urging us to consider not just what we take from nature, but what we leave behind. Ultimately, the question is not only about their history but our future. Could they have acted differently, and will we? The memory of this civilization lives on in the hearts and stories of the communities that trace their lineage back to its people. Like a river that flows unseen beneath the earth, their legacy persists, shaping the identity of those who came after. For descendant communities, the story of this civilization is not just a tale of the past but a cornerstone of who they are today. Festivals, rituals, and oral traditions carry echoes of their ancestors' ingenuity, resilience, and struggles. Songs passed down through generations often recount the river's bounty and its eventual decline, weaving a narrative of both gratitude and caution. In some regions, ancient agricultural practices, adapted and modernized, still guide farming methods, a testament to the enduring influence of their ancestors' knowledge. Local crafts, too, bear the marks of this ancient culture with patterns and techniques that have survived centuries of change. Yet, reclaiming this heritage is not always straightforward. Over time, external influences and the pressures of modernization have blurred some of these connections, leaving gaps in the collective memory. Efforts to revive and preserve this heritage are growing, with community-led initiatives, archaeological projects, and educational programs working to piece together the fragments of the past. Museums and cultural centers play a vital role, showcasing artifacts and stories that bring this civilization back to life for new generations. For descendant communities, this is more than an act of preservation. It's a way of reclaiming their identity, of reconnecting with a past that was nearly lost to time. The river may have faded, but its imprint remains, a reminder that even in the face of loss, the essence of a people endures. This ongoing journey of rediscovery invites us all to reflect on how we honor and remember the legacies that shape us, ensuring that they continue to flow, even if only in memory. The question of how to protect ancient ruins while making them accessible to the public is a challenge that historians, archaeologists, and local communities grapple with today. On one hand, leaving these sites untouched preserves their authenticity, allowing them to stand as undisturbed witnesses to history. On the other hand, developing them for educational purposes can provide invaluable insights and inspire a deeper connection to the past. Tourism plays a dual role in this equation. It can bring much-needed attention and funding to preservation efforts, but it also risks damaging fragile structures and ecosystems. Striking the right balance requires thoughtful planning and collaboration. Some sites have embraced innovative solutions, like virtual tours that allow visitors to explore without physical intrusion, or controlled pathways that guide foot traffic away from delicate areas. Others have implemented strict visitor limits and timed entry systems to reduce wear and tear. Yet, the debate goes beyond logistics, it's about philosophy. Should the past be held sacred, untouched by modern hands? Or is it our responsibility to share these treasures, ensuring they remain relevant and appreciated? This dilemma is further complicated when considering the role of local communities. For many, these ruins are not just historical landmarks but living parts of their heritage. Their voices are essential in shaping decisions about how these sites are preserved and presented. After all, the past isn't ours to own. It's a legacy we're tasked with protecting for future generations. By finding ways to honor both preservation and accessibility, we can ensure that the stories of these ancient civilizations continue to resonate, inspiring awe and understanding in equal measure. The story of how a single river shaped and ultimately unraveled an ancient civilization may feel like a distant echo from the past, but its lessons resonate with urgent clarity today. Consider the Aral Sea, once one of the world's largest inland bodies of water, now reduced to a fraction of its former size due to diverted rivers and unsustainable agricultural practices. Or look to Cape Town, which just a few years ago faced a dire water crisis, nearly becoming the first major city to run out of water. These modern examples mirror the ancient narrative in unsettling ways, human ambition clashing with the fragility of natural systems. History may not repeat itself exactly, but it often rhymes, and the question we must ask is whether we'll heed the warnings or become the next cautionary tale. Today, climate change amplifies these challenges, exposing vulnerabilities in water management and resource allocation. Rising temperatures, prolonged droughts, and erratic weather patterns strain already fragile ecosystems, pushing communities to the brink. Yet, unlike those ancient civilizations, we have the advantage of knowledge and technology. We can monitor water levels, predict droughts, and implement conservation strategies. The question isn't whether we can avoid disaster, it's whether we will choose to act. Will we prioritize short-term gains over long-term sustainability? Or will we recognize the interconnectedness of our actions and the environment? The stakes are higher than ever, and the choices we make today will shape the legacy we leave behind. By learning from the past, we can forge a path toward resilience, ensuring that the mistakes of history don't become the tragedies of tomorrow. The dry riverbed stretches out like a scar on the land, a silent witness to the life that once thrived here. Wind whispers through the barren channel, carrying with it the faint echoes of a bustling past. Where water once flowed, now there is only dust and silence. It's a haunting reminder of how quickly abundance can turn to absence. The remnants of barges lay half-buried, their splintered wood bleached by the sun, resembling the bones of long-forgotten giants. These skeletal remains tell stories of trade routes that once connected distant communities, of merchants haggling over goods, and of children laughing as they played along the riverbanks. The river was the lifeblood of this civilization, a thread woven into every aspect of daily life: farming, transportation, even spiritual rituals. But now it's a ghost of its former self, a memory etched into the landscape. The land remembers what people have forgotten. The soil, cracked and parched, still holds the imprint of crops that once flourished here. The air carries the faint scent of salt and silt, a lingering trace of the water that once nourished everything. Walking along this desolate channel, it's impossible not to feel a sense of loss, but also a profound connection to those who came before. Their triumphs and mistakes are written in the earth, a lesson waiting to be learned. The river's ghost is a powerful symbol of resilience and fragility, a reminder that even the mightiest forces can falter when neglected. And yet, there's a strange beauty in its silence, a quiet testament to the enduring bond between humanity and nature. It invites us to reflect not just on what was lost, but on what we can still protect and preserve. The river's ghost whispers to us, urging us to listen, to remember, and to act. This forgotten river's tale is a stark reminder of the delicate balance between human ambition and the forces of nature. Civilizations rise, flourish, and ultimately fall, often shaped by the very elements they depend on. The river, once a lifeline, became a silent witness to both prosperity and decline. Its story is more than just a chapter in history. It's a mirror reflecting the patterns we see even today. From modern water crises to the challenges of climate change, the echoes of this ancient civilization's fate resonate with unsettling clarity. But here's the thing: history doesn't just repeat itself blindly. It offers lessons if we're willing to listen. It's up to us to take these stories to heart, to learn from the triumphs and mistakes of those who came before. So, what do you think? Do you see parallels in our world today? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if you're as captivated by these journeys into the past as I am, don't forget to subscribe for more explorations into the echoes of history. Remember, the past isn't dead, it's waiting, ready to teach us if we're willing to